Hello, this is Sean Cezanne from Sports Law and Contracts, and I am doing my Assignment 4 on the National Basketball Players Association versus the National Basketball Association regarding the 2011 NBA lockout. Now, a little bit of an introduction to the NBA regarding the history of lockouts and other threats of that nature. Well, there was a big threat in 1982 when players nearly went on strike and some teams struggled to make payments. Now, the average salary amongst an entire team was between 80 to 90 million dollars annually, and a lot of teams just struggle to make those demands. So, for example, the Denver Nuggets and the Utah Jazz even talked about merging together under one team just to save money and be able to make those payments. Now, in 1998, there was a lockout, and it reduced the season to 50 games. And as far as impact went on the season, that was actually worse than the 2011 NBA lockout. Eventually, things were settled, but owners were seeking a better CBA or collective bargaining agreement, and that's what basically led to the 1998 lockout. A little bit about the National Basketball Players Association. It was established in 1954, and according to their website, their mission statement is to ensure that the rights of NBA players are protected and that every conceivable measure is taken to assist players in maximizing their opportunities in achieving their goals both on and off the court. Now here's an overview of the 2011 lockout. Events leading up to it began in 2005 when a 6-year CBA was agreed upon between the NBA and the NBPA. This included the formation of the D-League, minimum age requirement of 19 years old, and the effective luxury tax every season. Both sides began talks of a renewed CBA in 2009. The next year, Stern predicted that the league would lose around $400 million. Of course, this was the height of the recession, or around the time of the recession. And the NBA wished to slash the income of players, and a statement was made in late 2010, around October. There was talks about even possibly cutting NBA teams. And the National Basketball Players Association tried to sue in efforts to avoid a lockout. A new CBA was not reached when the old CBA expired on midnight of June 30th, so they tried talking about it and they couldn't get a deal together when the CBA from 2005 expired. So with no renewed CBA in sight, as of 12:01 a.m. on July 1st of 2011, the lockout began. The lockout was incredibly long and grueling. It lasted a total of 160 days, and it felt like there was no end in sight. Both sides pointed fingers at each other, just blaming each other basically, and meeting after meeting failed to reach any sort of conclusion between the owners and the NBPA. So this was basically pandemonium among NBA fans. When both sides failed to reach an agreement, games were canceled. Preseason was canceled, and then all of a sudden the first 10 games were canceled, and it just kept going and going. Players were signing contracts overseas to play for other leagues. So there were some players signing with China or Europe or other areas, probably just to play games or make money because they were out of that money as well. And the other leagues overseas weren't complaining about it because they were actually signing NBA quality players. Marathon meetings were held in desperate efforts to sign a suitable CBA. So sometimes the Players Association, which Derek Fisher was the president of at the time, the NBPA and the NBA were meeting for 15, 16 hours at a time, and a few times a week, if that. After the lockout it took out part of the 2011-2012 season, of course, and finally there was an agreement that was reached. Both sides have worked tirelessly towards the new CBA, which took effect on December 8th, 2012. Now, they verbally agreed to it in late November, but they had to get all the paperwork and all the talks straightened out, and they finally signed everything on December 8th. This re-enabled free agency and communication with teams. During the lockout, teams and players were not allowed to talk to each other. They were not allowed to discuss anything about the team or the league, and they can only do that with the Players Association. So, in the aftermath of the whole lockout in the new CBA, it included a 51-49 split between basketball-related revenue, 51 going to the players and 49 going to the owners. This was a very important issue for the Players Association because before, NBA players were getting a 57-43 split between basketball-related revenue, and the owners wanted a lot more than that. I think they wanted a 50-50, and the NBA players wanted they didn't want to go below 53, but they went ahead and made a compromise, and they were able to reach this deal. Also part of the CBA, there's a higher luxury tax alongside progressive tax rates and a soft salary cap. And 7.5% annual salary increase goes to players resigning with teams. Of course, that's on an annual basis, and as long as 4.5% for free agents. So that's still a significant increase, especially when you're talking about millions of dollars here. And the new CBA that was agreed would last until 2021. And hopefully there wouldn't be any drama when it's concluded in 2021, but we will see about that. And that is it. Thank you for listening. And oh yeah, and here are my references.